paying with your blood, heaven and hell in one room. It had been 18 months since I had seen my daughter. My daughter is 5, my son is 4. I see my son at contact visits, and that is supposed to be for 2 hours once every 2 weeks. Many of these visits with my son don't take place because the mother doesn't bring my children. 2 days ago on Thursday, we all had to see a psychiatrist that would make observations and then put a family report together, giving recommendations on what he believes the court should do with regards to the children's future, as in where he recommends the children live and things such as this. I couldn't wait to go to this appointment, especially to see my 2 children. When you're in this type of situation, you want to see your kids as much as possible. I had to be there at midday, 12 o'clock, whilst the mother needed to be there 1 hour earlier, so that the doctor could interview her with the children first and then interview me with everybody else in the room. What a day. It had been 18 months since I'd last spoken to my daughter. At that time, she was still 2 years old, turning 3. The memories and photos that I have of her are frozen in time because the images don't grow and change. Her personality as well. What was she like? How does she even look? Is she taller? And all the other questions that arise in one's mind. So I rock up to the area where the doctor's office is at and begin to look for parking. I'm very early and made sure that I was, because you don't want to be late for these sort of things. As I park my car, thoughts start playing in my mind. Questions such as, what if the mother sees me and starts screaming and tries to get me falsely charged with anything that she can think of? I mean, there is an ADVO against me, and this is a very dangerous situation for me. When one gives it some thought, breaching the ADVO restraining order could get me locked up for up to 2 years. The police aren't going to want to know that she put an ADVO against me, but she actually got charged for the same matter, not me. I didn't get charged, and I never have been in my life. It was as though I was walking to heaven, my children's faces and presence being that heaven, and I had to struggle through hell just to see them. But the struggle continues. I get out of my car and begin walking out of the car park, which is a multi-level concrete car park. When I reach the exit, I realise it is raining. That's okay. I check the time and realise that I have 40 more minutes, which means the mother is well and truly into the interview with the psychiatrist. She should have arrived at least 20 minutes ago, so I should be pretty safe from any of her manipulation. I walk around a whole block looking for the entry of this office, check the documents, and remember that the office is in a multi-level building, much higher than what I had expected. I take the elevator up to the floor that is explained on the paper. The elevator door opens and I step out. I start to look around for this office and can't find it. I do see a shop that sells female makeup and another business that you wouldn't expect to be an office for a psychiatrist. I then hear the elevator bell sound, indicating that the elevator door is opening, and I swear it was just like a movie scene. The mother, holding both my children on her sides, with both hands starts walking out of the elevator. She recognizes me and starts walking towards me with a smirk on her face, looking straight at me. I take a couple of steps back and walk straight into the makeup shop. She walks straight into the business that I didn't think would be the psychiatrist's office. My children didn't look my way. They didn't see me. I wait around 5 minutes looking like a complete idiot in a makeup shop while glancing into the waiting area where the mother is with my kids, just to make sure that she has gone in. 10 minutes go by and she is still there in the waiting area. I decide to leave the makeup shop and walk into the waiting area as well. I take a seat as far as I could from the mother. As soon as my son sees me, he yells, "Daddy!" and tries to run towards me. But his mother restrains him by his hand, and she carries on reading a children's book that she picked up from the table. She wanted to play the good parent. She kept reading the book like a school teacher would to students in her class. My son would look at me every now and then and would smile all the time when he saw me. My daughter would look at me and she smiled. I smiled back and I said, "I love you." My daughter looked slightly confused. My son said to me, "Have you got a surprise for me, Daddy?" I said, "Yes, Dad. I got you that Spider-Man toy you were asking for." My daughter here started to make some weird clicking sounds with her tongue, which I think came from the story in the book that their mother was reading to them. She looked at me as she did this, as if to impress me. Again, I smiled and said to my daughter that I love her and that she and her brother mean everything to me. This was the first actual interaction that I had with my daughter for over 18 months. It was a moment of joy during a moment of hell. My son wants to come and play with me, but is restrained by his mother, and I wanted my daughter to see that I would play with them and cause them no harm. But their mother has coached them otherwise. Here I am, so close, but yet so far. The psychiatrist came and asked for the mother and the children, and they went into his office. I started to read magazines. There was an article comparing the BMW 325 against a WRX STI. I couldn't really concentrate on the article, even though I love my cars. Around an hour later, the psychiatrist came to the waiting room and called for me. I followed him to his office, where also the mother and our children were waiting. I sat in a chair directly opposite the psychiatrist with the children and the mother on my left-hand side. My son immediately left his mother and said, "Daddy, I want to sit on your lap." The mother couldn't restrain him in front of the psychiatrist because that would speak volumes against her. He then went back to his mother, grabbed her phone, came back, sat on my left thigh and started to play some games on her phone. One of these games had these golden coins in it. My daughter sat on her mother. My daughter sat on her mother, facing her mother, and had her arms around her mother, with her head looking the other way of my direction. The psychiatrist asked simple questions to which I answered. At one point I made a note to my daughter that I loved her shoes and that they were awesome. The three of them were wearing the exact same shoes. I asked her if they made her run fast. She turned around, got off her mother and said, "You want to see? I'll show you, Daddy." I sort of got afraid because the office is not big and I didn't want her to hurt herself. I said, "Okay, Daddy, but don't run too fast. Just show me by running around my chair." And she did. I was like, "Wow, I can't believe you are that fast. I'm so proud of you." She had a big smile on her face. She stayed on my right-hand side now as I was talking to her. She appeared a lot more comfortable. Whilst my son was on my lap playing with his mum's phone, I asked her, "Do you mind if I kiss you like this?" And I gently kissed my son on the side of his forehead. He said, "I love you, Daddy." My daughter nodded her head and actually approached me, so I kissed her on the forehead, and she had a big smile on her face. The mother of the children then said, "Give Dad a hug, give Dad a hug." And then we hugged each other. It was surreal. Was I dreaming? I said to my daughter, "Next time brother comes to the contact centre, come down with him, okay? I miss you so much. It's not your fault, Daddy. It's never been your fault." My daughter smiled and then started to pretty much say that she would like to see me at the contact visits. But I noticed something. My daughter has a speech impediment. She has a lisp. My daughter never had a lisp 18 months ago. Now she has. And it really got me thinking and made me sad. I didn't act sad in front of her though. Does my daughter get teased at school by other students? What is the mother doing to sort out this issue? I asked her, "What surprise do you want me to get for you when you come to the visits next time? What would you like for me to get for you?" It was funny. The two simultaneous responses I received after this were like this. The mother said, "Peppa Pig," but my daughter said, "Dora the Explorer." The psychiatrist looked slightly baffled. I was brought back to reality and knew this was not a dream. The controlling, manipulative behaviour was always there. The mother was just being careful in front of the psychiatrist. This was like the pinch, so to speak. I smiled, looked at my daughter in the eyes and asked her, "Daddy, what do you want me to get you the next time I see you at the contact centre with your brother?" She looked at my eyes and I swear it was as if she looked into the depths of my soul and said to me, "Dora the Explorer." I nearly cried. My daughter has always been a fan of Dora the Explorer, and I would always buy her Dora gifts, Dora videos. I even took out the kids on one Sunday and a Dora the Explorer mascot was there. My daughter pretty much met Dora. It was as though my daughter remembered me, and she probably does. My son then said, "Daddy, don't forget my surprise." He made me laugh. I said, "Of course, my son." During the interview, the mother started saying words to the effect of, "Do you know how hard it is to be a single mum? You don't know what it's like." She nearly started crying, etc., etc. At this point, I was thinking to myself how easy it is to be a single parent, especially when a person stays away from drugs, stays focused, and stays organized. She never liked the advice I used to give her when we were together, to stay away from drugs. At one point, I looked after the children for 13 days straight in October 2012 and did every sole thing that a parent would do to look after their kids. It was actually very easy to look after the children. We actually had heaps of fun. We would make popcorn, jelly, sometimes pavlovas, watch movies and all sorts of other things. Mind you, I did the washing, the clothes washing, drying, hanging the clothes, the dishes, making meal, everything. I pretty much was a single parent. But I kept my mouth shut. I didn't come here to argue. When asked a specific question by the psychiatrist, she responded with, "I would like to have a mediation with the father, and the kids need their father in their life." The doctor then explained to the mother that she needed to leave with the children so that he could interview me alone. As they left, my daughter and son hugged me one more time and began to leave. My daughter left with a hunched back that has come from low self-esteem, and my son was walking with his back straight. My son had a genuine smile, and my daughter had a forced smile that came from only one side of her mouth. The mother left grabbing both my children by their wrists. It was clear that my son is the golden child, whilst my daughter is the scapegoat child. How can anybody do this to their children? How can heaven and hell exist in the same place at the same time?